This is Senua Saga Hellblade II. We're here on PC. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is the second entry in the journey of Senua as she attempts to deal with the monsters within, the voices in her head, and the monsters around her. Real, not real, mythical, and beyond. So for context, I'm here on the RTX 4090 with the i9-13900K, and this is a very, truly demanding game. It really is pushing the technology and pushing the hardware to the limit, and I think this is absolutely marvelous, a remarkable game, and a true technical achievement using Unreal Engine 5. And we're going to be diving into the technology, the performance, and everything like that. As you can tell in the top left there with the FPS, this game is highly demanding, and it's actually got a black bar aspect ratio, so it's not even necessarily like fully doing like a full screen presentation, but we've got a ton of visual settings to go over. And yeah, this game looks incredible on the 4090. I'm used to playing it on the Series X, I've seen it on the Series S, but on PC, this really does push things to another level. Now, before we jump into anything else, I do highly recommend that you play this game with headphones on, as that is the most immersive way to experience what this game has to offer, or a really good sound system, or just something that really allows you to enjoy the ASMR-like audio experience that is present within this game. So obviously, my PC is suffering a bit here as the performance levels are difficult to achieve. So let's dive in and take a look at the elements. So there is a photo mode, which is really cool if you want to take some incredible photos. And you know, I thought that was just something to highlight there because the photo mode is amazing and allows you to really appreciate some of the smaller settings here. So when we go to settings and audio, we have a number of different things. So there's actually multiple narrative perspectives. When you play through the game, you can unlock another one. We've got headphones mode on because I am on PC, obviously, but there's speakers, mono, and a few different visual settings, and a streamer mode too, which I always appreciate for, you know, making videos and whatnot. We got a host of accessibility options if you are into that sort of thing. Gameplay-wise, dynamic combat difficulty, and you can do a game window focus and everything like that, which is kind of cool if you're on PC. Interface-wise, this is where you can go to the advanced settings and turn on your FPS indicator option and where it is located, so pretty cool there. Subtitle options if you want to adjust the subtitles, and that's pretty cool too. Lots of different subtitle choices and options for there. Your inputs, I've got the mouse and keyboard, but also the Xbox controller, which is great. And yeah, now let's dive into the heavier graphic options. So this one comes with a kind of pre-built, sort of on the right-hand side thing, frame target, but you can definitely tell that the frame target there is like not really representative of the gameplay frame rate, because, you know, obviously we're getting like, yeah, we're getting like 45 to 50 FPS, and this is with NVidia DLSS on. And let's dive in. Let's just get through all this. We got different resolution choices, so I do love 4K, obviously, full screen or windowed. And then you have TSR, which will kind of like drop things a lot in the Intel XCS, AMD FSR3, and NVIDIA DLSS. Usually NVIDIA DLSS is the way to go. So frame generation we have on auto, but we'll just turn it on. And then the super resolution option, you can do quality, balance, performance, ultra performance. We're going to turn on quality. We're going to show you the different settings here. There's great HDR options that are kind of not on because we don't have HDR enabled right now for filming. NVIDIA Reflex, variable rate shading on or off. And then the global presets, you can do high, low, or medium. So let's take a look at the advanced settings here. The advanced settings are pretty in-depth. We've got the aliasing, or the anti-aliasing, I suppose you would say, post-processing, effects, shadow quality, global illumination quality, volumetrics, texture detail, foliage detail. Everything's at high and kind of maxed out. So I guess everything. So we're going to do NVIDIA frame gen on and super resolution on quality. And you're going to see again, I think it was kind of already kind of going for that sort of thing. This is where we're getting 45 to sort of 50 FPS, or even dropping at times, but this does look really, really good. But obviously it's not ideal to have like a frame rate that's like all over the place. Let's take a look at balanced and see if we get any sort of actual gains here. Yeah, this one takes us up into 50 to 55 range for FPS, with some dips in the more hardcore scenes. You gotta remember too, this is like one of the heavier sort of like areas of the game because of the wind, the particle effects, everything like that. It's the opening, it's really aggressive, it's crazy. What about performance? Let's see what performance can give us. Performance is getting us up to 60 FPS. Oh, I know, right? And it's still looking pretty great. I love how she's just kind of shaking here in the wind, and we're just kind of like testing out all the performance on her. But it's still not like really sort of locked, right? That's not ideal either. So let's take a look at ultra performance. So there we go. Now we're getting over 60 up to 70 FPS. Ultra performance at 4K seems to be our go-to if we do want the high resolution with, you know, performance levels and everything like that. It's kind of amazing that we have to go to that level of like DLSS to kind of achieve that, so that's a little bit crazy for that sort of setup here. So we're gonna try because DLSS is an important one. So now we're gonna try to do a global preset of medium and see what that kind of achieves us for frames in this situation. So this one, again, just kind of bumps us up. We get like up to 80 FPS, 70 something FPS. And if you're watching this wanting a more traditional review, obviously we're going to dive into the back, but you know, obviously we got to go over all of the options. So medium, and let's go to quality because we're going to try the top and then we're going to try the bottom. So medium quality kind of gets us up to 60 FPS, a little bit over sometimes, but it really does crack down into like, you know, 55 FPS, maybe a little bit lower depending on how demanding the scene is. So that, again, is just kind of crazy and an indicator of like how wildly demanding this game is. So now we're going to go for low and we're going to go for quality. So this one is kind of just, again, quite all over the place, but we do get up to 70 FPS. It's like 65 FPS, sometimes a little bit lower, but yeah, you can definitely see a little bit of a detail fidelity drop when you do this kind of thing. And quality mode is helping a bit there too. So let's see what we get with ultra performance when we have the low settings on. This is taking us up to 80 something FPS, which is kind of nice. And again, it's just sort of low settings and everything like that, but Hellblade is an experience that is meant to be played, I think, with as high graphical options as we can. So we're going to turn on the high settings because that's our desire. And we're going to now give TSR a go here. So this is where you can change your target resolution, dynamic resolution scaling, and resolution scale. So this is sort of the input TSR option. And this one, you know, like it's trying to do 60 FPS. It's kind of, it's putting in a noble effort for sure, but you know, again, I don't know. It's sort of like the idea. I think DLSS is pretty good. Let's give FSR a chance. Although FSR, I don't know really in my opinion, but there we go, kind of hitting 60 FPS here for quality. And you know what? It looks pretty good, FSR, but I'm really into the DLSS. So I guess what I would really say is NVIDIA DLSS with the ultra performance really does give you that higher frame rate. We're going to go for the balanced target with the ultra high settings on, and we're going to kind of show off more of the gameplay from that perspective going forward. So I hope that sort of covers the technical elements of the game. And let's dive in and show the balanced play a little bit more in style. So at this point, I'm going to dive into doing a review of the game, since we've shown off the different technical settings, and I hope that was in-depth enough for you. If it wasn't and stuff, apologies. I do my best for these PC reviews, and always trying to improve as well. So, yeah, Helldivers. Yes, we're helldiving into Hellblade II. But, yeah, so Hellblade II, really is a true technical achievement in gaming. It is immersive, it is storytelling at its finest. It offers an incredible continuation of her journey. Very visceral, combative moments, epic action, and the most beautiful looking game I've ever seen. I don't think there's a single game out there that looks better than this. This is basically pure realism and something we've been trying to achieve in video games for a very, very long time. Now, I'm never in the element of being like, hey, you know, gaming can never look better than this. Every time I say something or think something like that, you know, there's a new game that comes along that truly does push the limits. But this feels like such a jump up over every other game I've seen. I believe personally that this is truly the benchmark for technology, and I would love to see something more visually impressive than this game. But I don't know if we'll see anything like this anytime soon, but I hope I hope we do, because we are in for a treat if the technology keeps scaling like this, because this game is like absolutely amazing to look at. It's so visually impressive. And I gotta say, getting like to 60 FPS on PC in comparison to what I was experiencing on console, where it's capped at 30 FPS, this is amazing. Now, obviously, we're not getting like unlocked 60, because, you know, I would like to have over 60 FPS ideally, but, you know, we gotta go to super performance if we do want to achieve that with the full 4K. I mean, obviously, I could go down to like 1080p or something like that, and, you know, we'd get kind of better stuff. You know what, let's do it. Quality mode, let's bop this down to like Xbox settings, which is 1440p. And you can see, like, it's still a really, really good looking game. And we're getting that higher frame rate level, which is ideal. But, you know, technically I love to push the boundaries of what my PC can do, because I paid a lot of money for that to happen. But here we go, actually fluid. And, yeah, as I was saying, you know, the technology is important. It's a big part of this game, but there is more to it than just sort of that technology. There's an incredible performance from our lead here. Like, Senua is just amazing. Melina does an incredible job sort of pushing this character forward. And I love the idea that they're taking the concepts of the original Hellblade and they are pushing them forward in the degree of like trying to build up this character more to understand her flaws, the darkness within, and then push past that so that she can basically become a more heroic person, or become the person she really wants to be, instead of being held back by the voices in her head, which themselves are very interesting. One where it's sort of like really negative, a neutral sort of middle ground one, and one that is relatively positive. And then, of course, the darkness within, too. So this game, I think, really builds well upon the foundations of the first game, like I had mentioned, but they've streamlined things and made it so that it's not so, I really want to say, kind of tiring at times to work through. Like, they've streamlined the experience, and that to me is massively appreciated in like every metric, because the pacing is so much better in this game. Like in the first game, you're kind of like, there'll be a lot of times where you're just sort of stopped and you're looking through gates, and you know, there's elements of puzzles that do return, but they're kind of sprinkled in a way that's a lot more satisfying. Things change, things go through. You'll go from like combat to gameplay to puzzles to combat to movement to narrative. And it all just kind of comes together in a way that is very satisfying and just, again, very pleasing from a perspective of, like, not just having one thing or the other. Because in the first game, and I literally just played it the other night, you know, you're sort of sitting there for long periods of time just doing puzzle after puzzle after puzzle, and it just sort of, I don't know, like, I still think that game's like a masterpiece, just like I do this one, but I do just love the way that this flows better gameplay-wise for me in comparison, because it is just nice that this game, you know, I guess you would say just aesthetically works well, and then gameplay works well, and just feels so fun to experience, and it's such a neat setting, and it just works as you go from one area to the next, and it's just all so smooth. And then when you do get into those elements outside of the puzzles that have been better streamlined with ball movement, they're like, you kind of picking up balls and dropping balls. It makes sense when you play the game and doing the shapes and stuff, which are a lot more minimal. They really listen to, I think, feedback and clean things up nicely. But the combat in this game is incredibly visceral, especially if you turn up that volume and you just get focused as you try to battle and survive. And it feels like every hit could kind of be your last hit. And it's just so graphic and violent and intense that you really are sort of on the edge of your seat, seeing if you're actually going to make it or if you're going to die along the way. And I think that in itself is truly quite special. And I didn't really see settings for this, but I would love to see a mod that sort of like removes the black bars, if you get what I mean. Like, I get that this game is supposed to be cinematic and widescreen, but I'd really love to see what the full picture could be. But like, I also think that it would be incredibly demanding. See, even when you go down to 1080p, this still looks really, really good. And then you get that higher frame rate, but it's such a weird mix for me too, because again, I like to just push things. The thing that really gets me though is like, we are using, resolution scaling technology. Like, we're using upscaling technology, basically DLSS and stuff, to achieve this, and it is absolutely pushing this card to its limit. Absolutely crazy. But going back to what I was talking about, the visceral elements of combat in this game are fantastic. You feel each hit, you feel each slash. It's not too hard to learn. There's the dynamic scaling for difficulty too, but I really feel like you can get a good flow and a good feeling for it, but at the same time feel that like push where Senua is getting slapped down or not being tough enough compared to the people that she's up against. And you really do feel that balance. And there's this nice element of a mix between mythical things and then the greater world, the combat around you. It's so well done. It really, really genuinely is. And it all just comes together in a very satisfying way. It's something that if you do play it like once all the way through, kind of at one time, it truly is quite immersive and well set up. But at the same time, if you do kind of want to like take it in bits, the game is very much segmented by chapters that I think really do offer this sort of like neat mix. Wow, the combat feels so much more visceral at 60, like towards 60 FPS obviously, but yeah, it's just wild, that difference in gameplay for me coming from console to PC. It's insane. Anyways, as I digress, like I was saying, they really did create like a setting where it's sort of best as one go, where it feels like a couple stacked movies, but kind of taking it in the different chapters is natural too. You go, like, it really has this sort of flow where, as I mentioned, pacing wise, it goes through one area to one area to one area, but like it really has a spot where it's sort of like, okay, now we're into this next part of the journey. And from a story perspective, I can definitely see where some will kind of like want a bit more closure, as to say, with certain characters and whatnot, but it's very much focused on her and her journey. And you can go up for the extra narration, and it kind of changes things up a bit too in regards to like perspectives and characters and whatnot. But there is an element where I do think the story is very masterfully well done, because it is about her character. Wow, the water is way better done with DLSS. DLSS handles water way better than the FF. Anyways, yeah, no, it's just kind of amazing to see the graphical detail when they come on here, but her character is the focus of the story, and the way it sets up is, like, I think to some might feel abrupt, but to me very much focused on, like, there are other people, but she is the central focus point, and it is her perspective and her tale as she works from the epic journey of the original towards this one. And I think they just really present something that's like beautiful, emotional, well done. It's neat to see her also cooperatively work with other people that are trying to survive, other people that are trying to, make their way in this world where there's monsters that, some people are, and there's monsters that are actual creatures that come at you. And just the detail, the fidelity, the world, the storytelling, it's also masterfully well crafted and put together. I absolutely love this game. And it was a treat to come here and take a look at it on the PC side of things too, because I wasn't really sure if I was going to do it, but I'm like trying to do more and more PC efforts when I can. and trying to dive into this. Because, you know, I got a great 4090, I want to use it. And it's amazing to see the different scale of like what they do to get these games running on different platforms. But yeah, just a great host of PC options. I think they nailed it. And I think you should really check out Hellblade II, especially if you're coming from the first. Excellent game.